Greetings and salutations, fellow mustard-covered wrestlers. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey!
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and today we are talking about All Elite Wrestling Double or Nothing 2022. But before we do that, there's a ticker at the bottom of the video right now. It's got a lot of suggestions for cool shit you could do and stuff you could click on. We got a link tree in the description. That's a faster version. But most importantly, we need to shout out some cool people. Those cool people are Rob, a guy from Ohio, Jesse Weock, and Passion Killer 711. They sub to us on Patreon. You only needs give us $1 per month, and we will talk about how cool you are. And then you can show this video to your friends, and they'll be like, wow.
These random people on the internet think you're cool.
Yeah.
And we all know that the most important opinion in the world is the opinion of random people on the internet.
You know what? Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, all the time people build me up and, like, talk about how, you know, good my books are, which you should buy, and, like, you know, how I do a good job being a friend. But one time, that guy from Heroes followed me on Twitter, and, like, that's it.
That's it.
He still follows me. I'm not even really on there. Anyway.
That guy from Heroes? Which guy from Heroes?
I can't remember his name. Not Hero, but his friend.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I don't know why.
You're funny.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't tweet, really, especially right now.
Anyway.
We're out here to talk about tweets.
We're going to talk about AEW Double or Nothing 2022. And the build-up to AEW Double or Nothing 2022.
This has not been my favorite.
That is a tale of two cities right there.
Yeah, my favorite month or so of AEW, 2, 3, however long it takes in between.
Yeah, same. There's been some good stuff, obviously. You know, the show's not terrible. But the weekly shows have been usually good wrestling, interspersed with rough storytelling.
And questionable. Like, and I guess it's one of those things, it's like, okay, here's a prime example. MJF and Wardlow. They did the thing again. They did the thing where MJF hides behind 10 proxies. And
good luck, loser. I'm behind 5 proxies.
Yeah.
And then you have to go through all the proxies. It's basically his gimmick at this point.
I mean, kind of, but it's just like, I think he maybe could do anything else.
Well, so does he.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Look. It might be a work.
It might be. MJF is incredibly dedicated to kayfabe, so it could entirely be a work. I don't know. I'm not putting any stock into it, period, until he shows up on Monday Night Raw. So, and if he does, more power to him.
Yeah, he's never hitting the ball.
Yeah.
He wants money, and he wants more of it. And if you can find a place to go get more money, go forth. Shine on, you crazy diamond.
But it really, all of the storylines in general have been kind of like
either sort of mishmashy and thrown together, or just sort of incoherent.
Or predictable and not in a fun way. Like, there's a fine... Wrestling is not new, okay? Stories aren't new.
Yeah, there's a fun kind of predictable. I don't mind things being predictable. To a certain extent.
But, like, when it gets to where everything on the show is like, okay, now this is going to happen.
And now this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when I, fat loser on the internet, can spot for spot call a match that is happening in front of me and be right for the whole match, that's probably bad, right? Because I'm a dumbass who doesn't know anything.
I mean, I'm you know... I think we're both wrestling fans from way back, so we might know more than we may consider ourselves to. But even still, like, the Owen Hart tournament's another great example. I feel like they got there, but there was a lot of, well, then why did we all do all that along the way?
Yeah, there were a lot of, and this is, I mean, true of any tournament where you're having all of the people come across as invested in being the winner. There's going to be a lot of aborted story arcs.
True.
There's only really the one story arc that's going to succeed and finish conclusively in a positive way. Two, because there's 2 tournaments in this case. But even still, there were decisions that just didn't make sense. But we'll circle back around to the build, I think, for each of these as we go. I do want to get right out front. The show itself, Double or Nothing, was one of the best wrestling pay-per-views I've seen in a long fucking time.
Yeah, we watched the buy-in, and that actually helped because they showed a lot of promos, which they did sprinkle some of them throughout the show, but like a lot more.
And longer.
And longer, yes. And they were very well edited when it was older footage, and when it was new footage, it was very good footage. And actually made me give a shit about some of these feuds that I was lukewarm on.
Yeah, the buy-in really tightened up the narrative on the entire thing, gave it a fresh slate, an easy in for you to catch up, and most importantly, a nice bit of fairy dust for you to forget the various fumbles on the road along the way.
Sure.
Excellent. Very happy that I watched it. Very happy that I watched the pre-show. I watched the pre-show to a wrestling pay-per-view, and I'm happy about that.
We mostly watched it because Danhausen and Hook were up against Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling, and I couldn't miss that.
Yeah, I'm not going to debut Hookhausen. Come on.
I'm really glad they let Danhausen wrestle.
Yeah, I'm really glad he wasn't just a comedy act and they let him actually wrestle because he's a good wrestler.
Right.
So let him do that, please.
It wasn't a match that overstayed its welcome. Obviously, Hookhausen went over. And over Mark, which I thought was another good idea.
Yeah, protect Tony Nese a little bit. And with some things that happened later in the show, I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Sterling is going to be transitioning to a different role going forward. Or at the very least, changing up what he does.
Yeah, that's true. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen. I mean, the pay-per-view did what it's supposed to do, and, by that
shifted things, ended the thing, and we're starting a new season.
And made me want to watch Wednesday. So,
oh, yeah, I absolutely do want to watch Wednesday.
We get into our opening contest. This was smart to get right off the bat, so there was a lot of talk, and I don't know if you know this, but game, I want to say 7, it might have been 8, of basketball,
yes,
hockey,
the NBA.
One of them. Was happening, was possibly going to happen tonight, and it did get to that point. Well, tonight as in the pay-per-view. And it started at 8:30. So they got the important stuff out front, and then put a lot of stuff that was less bombastic and must-see
in the middle,
and then ended with the
important stuff.
The important stuff again. And there was a lot toward the end of people, the announcers and stuff going, "Hey, tell your friends to buy a pay-per-view."
Hey, the main event's still coming. If the game is over, maybe come see AEW. I don't know.
And I mean, when you're on, Bleacher Report, you can start the whole damn thing over. We can still watch the pay-per-view we bought last year.
And that's actually another point that I wanted to mention. A lot of people are having trouble with the Bleacher Report app. It was broken all night. We had one issue that I think was the device we were watching it on, not the app. And otherwise, it was perfectly fine. Pretty much uninterrupted performance. So I don't know what. I'm sorry for all those people who were having that issue because I didn't.
And maybe they were on their phones too.
Maybe. That seems like a weird place to watch a wrestling pay-per-view. But
I mean, I agree.
Live your life. I'm not going to judge.
So anyway, Wardlow versus MJF. Wardlow powerbombed the ever-living fuck out of MJF and won. How do you feel about this contest?
Oh, I loved it. This is the right kind of predictable. I am on record, I think, on the podcast, and if not, I'll go on record now, as saying MJF is my favorite AEW talent, and it's not close. He's the best working heel in the business. He's fucking phenomenal. He is either amazingly old school fucking Mark Calloway level committed to kayfabe, or he is genuinely a shitty dickhead of a person. I don't care. He does amazing work in the show. And he got absolutely plastered in this match, which is what should happen in this match. And whether it was because he's on his way out of the company and didn't care, or he really, IRL likes Wardlow and wanted to put him over, whatever the backstage reason is, that he didn't let his ego get in the way of the right end to this, speaks good things about him as a person. Because there is the good kind of predictable, and this is it. This match should have been 10 power bombs and then the match is over, and this match was 10 power bombs and then the match is over. Good. Because they have dragged this fucking storyline out until it is dead, until the horse is glue, and this is the wonderful, big, cathartic end to it. And it's a great way to start the show, makes people happy, gives them a fun thing to talk about as we move further in.
And it does. I mean, we can say this storyline has been going on forever, and we were kind of blah. But first of all, they had a great crowd in Vegas. They were a great crowd.
Dude,
for the
that crowd were
shows.
superheroes, man. Yeah. That was, 5 hours? And by the end of the main event, they were still rocket hot.
No, but they were still doing their best.
No, I mean, not for the whole match, but for the last sequence, they were on their feet.
Yeah. When it got hot, they got hot. They were...
But, that's... After 5 hours, I'd be fucking napping, dude. Kudos to everyone in the audience. The wrestling audience has a part to play in the show, and you guys did your jobs.
But they were interested in this match. It's so... there's so many different perspectives that can go into a wrestling show. And right now, we're the people who are watching every week, and then we tune in for the pay-per-view. In the past, we've been the people who only watched the weekly shows, and we never watched the pay-per-views. We've also been the opposite of that, the people who never watch the weekly shows and only watch the pay-per-views. So, I've been around the block on...
all sorts of different ways of absorbing wrestling content.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the WWE stuff, if you go back on our podcasts for WWE within the last 3 years...
What few there are.
I think we are benefiting a lot from being the casual fan that's only watching the pay-per-views in those podcasts.
Yeah, because the weekly content for the WWE is not good.
Well, and these concepts don't get driven into the ground, and in similar, these promo packages are edited together nicely, and that's all we see.
I think I see what you mean. You mean if we had been watching week to week on the WWE pay-per-views we had watched for the last several years, we would be even more tired of the storylines they had been running than we are of the ones that were kind of not great handled here.
And similarly, if we had the same, if we were only watching pay-per-views here, I'm sure it would just all be very exciting. If you're tuning in for just the wrestling, and the pay-per-view is the best way to do that because there's the most wrestling per hour.
The most wrestling and the best wrestling.
Yeah. Then, this is just, it's all good. What? Yeah. MJF is being a dick? Cool. Powerbomb the shit out of him.
Probably S+. But even with the tiny amount of fatigue that had set in for a lot of these storylines, this show is fucking great, dude.
yeah, it was a lot of quality wrestling. I would not give it a 6-star.
No,
no, it was solid, and solid by AEW standards, which is a lot.
Yeah, if we're grading on a curve, the shittiest episode of Dynamite I've ever seen is better than almost every Raw from the last decade.
So the next match along the line, Young Bucks versus Matt and Jeff Hardy. Young Bucks had a fun entrance with the big Elvis parody.
That made me think they were maybe growing their beards out specifically to do this.
Yeah, they had Elvis outfits and the big sideburns, and they had an impersonator singing. And the Hardy Boys came out as the Hardy Boys.
Yeah. Speaking of, there was a fun bit on the weekly show where the Young Bucks came out as the Hardy Boys, but it was on the Go Home show, and it made me sad because I really wanted to see the Hardy Boys dressed as the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that would have been this for the feud. And they cut a really good promo. Matt did, at least. Jeff was also there.
I mean, honestly, this one had the benefit of only starting 3 weeks maybe before the pay-per-view, maybe 2.
That doesn't always help.
But it didn't have nearly as much time to fumble the bag.
I agree. They had Jeff as part of the Owen Hart tournament, and they kind of teased some of this stuff, especially if you're someone who watches Being the Elite, which is a second level of investment that I don't quite have. I catch it every now and then, but every now and then.
Same.
So this has kind of been brewing basically since Jeff was, rumored to be showing up. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good payoff. It's a dream match for a lot of people, and it was pretty decent wrestling. Surprisingly, the Hardys went over.
I am a little surprised at that, but the Hardys are starting their last big run. They want to do one last big run as big important guys before they ride off into the sunset. And Matt and Nick Jackson are much younger, and they got a lot more years left, so I can see why they'd be willing to help that process along. But I really would have expected the Young Bucks to go over here. I don't know.
And I don't necessarily think that's the better storytelling. I think they made the right decision.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is I don't think the Hardys winning is bad. I'm just surprised.
But it was pleasant.
In direct contrast to something that happens later.
Next match was for the TBS Championship. Was made at the last minute. Jade Cargill versus Anna Jay, and guess who won? It was Jade Cargill.
Thank the Lord. Anna Jay is fine. She did a fine job. This was probably the worst match on the card. But that doesn't mean it was bad. Both talents did good. Jade, as always, excellent. Anna Jay, perfectly serviceable.
Anna Jay has improved a lot.
Does not deserve to be the one to take Jade Cargill's winning streak. That's who shows up after the match.
I would have been upset because I love Jade Cargill, but okay with it. Anna Jay coming back and
Like-
having actual talent and looking good in the ring and then securing the title.
And, she had a big storyline of having gone and tried, did the traveling the world, learning from people, only specifically AEW. Coming back, defeating the person who had defeated her previously, and then you can move Jade Cargill up to the main event scene, up to the women's title.
Sure.
That would be fine too, but I think this probably was the better call.
I like Jade. But Mark came out and tried to help, Mark Sterling, that is, not Calloway.
After he had previously gotten his booty blasted by Hookhausen, he got beat up in that match.
So he tried to hand the crutch off to Jade, but Anna picked it up and used it as a weapon against her, and it almost cost her the match. So, as was hastily added by commentary afterward, they believe Mark Sterling was fired. And the person who came out after that, during that,
helped Jade secure the win.
Stokely Hathaway, who I did not recognize by name or visage, but I am more familiar with his WWE work as Malcolm Bivens. He gets talked up a lot by Xavier Woods. And I've heard great things about him. So that's more exciting, as I learned it today, than it was in the moment. Not the biggest debut. He does appear to be managing the whole baddie section.
He appears to be the new Mark Sterling.
Yeah, for them anyway. But after the fight, we get Chris Statlander coming down to help out Anna Jay from getting her ass kicked. And we get a surprise debut.
Of someone who is dubbed in AEW as Athena, also known as Athena Palmer, or you may remember her as Ember Moon. One of my favorite fucking wrestlers of this decade.
Yeah, it was a pretty big pop.
I made a loud noise.
We scared the cats. But, they didn't do a whole lot. They kind of squared off, and it, looks like we're going to have a nice 3-on-3 fight. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that storyline.
Athena, new name. Athena should be the one to beat Jade, I think. I think new person, hot. You can move Jade up to the main event scene where at this point she basically belongs, really. And then you can have Athena carry the TBS title for a while and establish herself. I don't think right away.
No, I'd like to see this storyline.
I'd like to see her chase for a bit.
Yeah.
But I think Jade is perfectly good enough to be in the women's title scene at this point. Mm-hmm. And Athena is a great new acquisition who deserves all the pushes in the universe. So she should win the matches.
This was the match I was most looking forward to coming up next. Probably my match of the night. That was the House of Black against Death Triangle. And it was a close race. There was a lot of good content on this pay-per-view.
It did not fucking disappoint. No. This was a good one, guys.
I have a hard time figuring out who my favorite wrestler in AEW is, but Penta is up there. He's in constant top competition because he's just so good. From his face to his
all
physicality.
Aspects of the business.
Yeah, he's
I'm sure if I could understand his promos, I'd like him more.
He's awesome. He's great. But
I do not speak Espanol.
No, I speak enough to get by. But great entrance from the House of Black. Cool paint and masks for all of them. Very intimidating. Cool entrance for Death Triangle. Pac had a mask on. That was cool.
He had a half and half mask of half Penta Oscuro, half fucking Rey Fenix. I like that.
It was good shit.
He took it off to wrestle because it did. Once he had been out for a while, look a little silly.
It was a different look. I was all right with it, but
I was a little off put at the very beginning because the House of Black brought out Death Triangle brought out a very small child dressed as Penta Oscuro, and my brain went, "This has been sold as kind of an intense feud, this probably isn't where you want to take a child. And then Alex carted him off backstage.
Yes.
So
I had a similar concern, but once he was gone, I was fine with it.
it was just a good, fun moment for that kid.
Yeah.
Good.
How do you talk about how good wrestling is? It was very good. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to go, oh yeah, that was a callback to a Bret Hart match in 1992 where he fought Kong Bundy's ghost.
Which is apparently a thing that everyone in AEW loves to do.
And I like it. I like seeing it afterward, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to notice most of that stuff. So,
no, absolutely not. I'm not that guy.
and I'm not going to... Nothing I say is going to stand up to actually watching the match. I loved this match a lot. I mean, it wasn't their best match that I've ever seen, but it was very high quality.
I will say it was a great example of what a good trios match is.
Yes.
A lot of movement, a lot of interaction between the various people. It didn't feel like just a tag match with like extra people stapled on. Again, we will get to that later. But a good trios match has a lot of movement, has a lot of... honestly, it makes sense in that most of the places with trios titles are lucha feds, because that sort of very frenetic, much more, focused on constant action sort of rule set really lends itself to this sort of thing being good. Or the ref just not giving a shit about the rules, as is typical for AEW.
There's a rule in Lucha Libre, in a lot of trios matches especially, that I wish they would talk about in AEW so they could fucking use it.
Yeah, just establish it as the rule.
Because when you get out of the ring in a trios match, either of your partners can get in.
And they are now in the legal ring.
Yeah. So, like, that can be hard to keep track of, but it's no harder than what is going on in AEW. Less, but still sometimes now. And it would be less confusing and upsetting for a lot of the fans, especially their biggest fan, Jim Ross, if perhaps they would actually talk about that rule.
Yeah, because if the rules are... Because ultimately the rules exist to serve the story, right?
Right.
They exist to serve and provide a framework for the match. If there is a rule in your official rule set that is only inhibiting your wrestler's ability to work, change it or remove it. Don't just have the refs disregard it, because that, as the old saying goes, exposes the business.
Right. You don't want to have too many rules and get things too complicated. This isn't TNA. We don't have to have a guy go in the cell and then get out of the cell and then he has to kiss a fish or something. But, like, it's something small like that I feel like can be, paid attention to and supported and help improve the narrative. The House of Black goes over when a storyline pays off.
A storyline that I genuinely thought they had backed off from. God, I don't even remember her name. I know her as Eye Patch Girl. I'm sorry.
Hart.
Julia Hart?
Julia Hart, yes.
She has been teasing the heel turn, the infection of the House of Black. Apparently, evil is a disease transmissible by spit.
Black spit?
Black spit, true. And she's been teasing this, and then they finally did the thing where she was about to hit her friend with a chair. And then they just sort of didn't do it. And I thought they had just, she wasn't ready, or they didn't feel like she was prepared to shoulder that new character, or whatever the reason. I thought they had actually backed off from it. It has become apparent they were just waiting for this match to do it.
Yeah.
And Rey Fenix had to make his arm an arm again.
Right. Yes, which he did impeccably in a record amount of time. She caused the distraction on Pac so that they could get the win. I think it was good. I think House of Black deserves to have a lot of momentum, as much as I do like Death Triangle. But good to see her alongside them. She seems enthusiastic about the role. I'm glad that, as much as they ended up dragging out a bit more than was necessary, that this finally got a tie on it.
And this is an interesting character. I'm interested to see where it goes. And they aren't the WWE, so there won't be a small child's doll appearing anytime soon.
God, please don't. I didn't even hate that gimmick, but it wasn't good.
I actually kind of liked it at the first, and then it just really overstayed its welcome well past when we watched that program.
So, next match is Adam Cole and Samoa Joe for the Men's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Final. This was a very good match. I liked the the old David and Goliath setup toward it.
Yeah, where Samoa Joe is sold all matches essentially a gorilla that Adam Cole is trapped in the ring with.
And it's fun to see that go with the face being the giant.
Yeah, that you don't see that nearly as often. Or if you do, it's Wardlow versus MJF.
Sure.
It's the face is the giant, and the heel is a cowardly bastard begging off and by hook or by crook trying to Lanny Poffo his way into victory. Adam Cole just battled back. And, I mean, I'll be honest, I was rooting for Adam Cole on this. Entirely out of kayfabe reasons. Adam Cole is a fucking fantastic human being out of kayfabe. I want good things for him. Fully, completely outside the business. His character is an unrepentant shit heel. Samoa Joe is excellent and very cool, but Chugs is great. I want Chugs to win.
I think backstage, out of most people in the locker room, if you weren't going to give it to Diddley Crenshaw from FTR, you would have to hand it off to Adam Cole. And this was the right call for the Owen Hart Cup first winner. He had a small amount of kind of interference from Bobby Fish.
Yeah, honestly, that was mostly there to protect Joe.
Yes, I agree, and I think that was a good call. I am really glad it wasn't Satnam Singh.
It would have been... Look, I'm sure Satnam Singh's a fine person, but Satnam Singh is more WWE than Chris Jericho's current gimmick.
If he could wrestle, if he looked good in the ring, I wouldn't care. This is a fine angle.
He's the great Khali. He's... fucking, what's that guy the Undertaker knocked out with chloroform?
Giant Gonzalez. Yeah.
He's a giant, great big motherfucker who can't wrestle very well. But he's here because he's a great, great big motherfucker. And he is very big. He is many feet tall. You cannot teach that. You can teach people to wrestle. So if you have a many feet tall person, he should wrestle and know how to do that, and then you bring him onto TV.
But, I mean, they've been invested in this guy for a while, so I understand why they're running the storyline. But I was just glad not to see it. I wanted this...
Robert Fish is the right call.
Yes. We move on to Ruby Soho versus Dr. Brit Baker, DMD, for the Women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Final of Champions Edition Super Turbo FX.
They really were like shopping around
a lot. Nobody knew what the title of the tournament was.
No, I feel like they were shopping it. They were workshopping it. They were seeing what landed, and they'll move forward with some more.
They settled on the Owen, and that's just fucking keep
good.
It at that.
Yeah, that's A+. The Heisman, the Owen. That's what you.
This one I think was the most confusing call of the night.
So, I get why Britt Baker won. She, for the majority of the AEW before we got there, basically carried the women's division on her fucking back. She's a good talent. She's good on the mic. She's, a leader in the locker room. I get all that stuff. Okay? Also, she's, in a couple with the other winner. That makes a very wholesome and positive award ceremony, whereas if someone had just beat his girlfriend for the title, it would have felt a little weird if Adam Cole was all friendly with them afterwards in the award ceremony. That's part of it too, I'm sure. But if Ruby Soho wasn't going to win this tournament, given how she's generally been treated, she probably shouldn't have been in this tournament.
And that's kind of what I agree with. Basically everything you said, I agree with. I get it. Britt inarguably deserves it. I think she spent a little too much time with the title, but this isn't the title, I hope.
And now she has a title she can carry around that, she doesn't have to defend.
Right.
There is no defense. This is an award, not a title to defend. They were very clear about that.
Yeah.
I like that. Have her carry that shit around for a long time. It's a belt she can carry around. Ricky Starks carries around a belt that only he gives a shit about. Why can't Britt Baker? Why can't Adam Cole? That's great. Those look great. They're great belts. Show them off.
And it's a great way to keep these top tier talents away from the titles that other people could hold.
Yeah.
While they still get something to showcase their ability.
Yeah, and it's a great reward, and it's a great way of tipping the nod to a great person who everyone likes, and presumably also a great person who everyone likes, because I feel like Chugs probably wouldn't, have a bitch as a girlfriend.
I don't know, man. Happened to Kevin Smith.
That's fair. But if Ruby Soho wasn't going to win this tournament, she probably just shouldn't have been in it. Or at the very least, should have lost to Chris Statlander. That's a much lower pressure loss, and Chris Statlander, ironically, winning against Ruby Soho would do really good for her, and can take this subsequent loss to Brit Baker a lot better than Ruby can.
Ruby came in and is basically a 3-time loser at this point.
Yeah, whereas Chris has a much more established history here in AEW. She can eat a loss a little better. Ruby Soho is on the fucking edge of being not a serious contender for things, and I feel like this loss probably pushed her over that edge.
I'm concerned. Now, as we said earlier, this isn't WWE, so things are a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm willing to trust the process. Maybe they're going to go somewhere with this, but Britt Baker shouldn't have lost this, but someone else should have.
Yeah, especially with how much they put into the final build.
And also having Rancid show up and do her theme music and then having her lose is a little cringe.
Which, I mean, like, backstage is kind of a... Well, first of all, that's the rule.
Yeah. If you show up with a live band and they're doing your thing, you're losing this match, bro.
But, like, that's a good nod backstage. Look, here, we're going to give you this. You're not getting the win, but check it out, it's Rancid.
And she did come out and go, holy shit, that's Rancid.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, it's not... This isn't the worst situation in the world. This isn't the end of Ruby's career. This is certainly
recoverable. I'm willing to trust AEW a lot farther than I ever would the WWE. This just seemed like a missed call.
Yeah, I kind of agree. You know what? I want to go back because I have a complaint.
Okay.
I want to celebrate that they gave Jade Cargill the Cody Vader.
Yay! They gave Jade Cargill the Cody Vader. Jade Cargill is the heir apparent to the Cody Vader. It was a Cody exclusive before. It should be a Jade exclusive now. Go.
And I get their thought process on this, but I don't like it because of who they let use it. We come to the next 6-person mixed tag team match. This one is American Top Team versus Frankie Kazarian, Sammy Guevara, and Ty Conti. I'm glad they went with the storyline that they appeared to be going with on Rampage, that Frankie Kazarian does not like these evil children, but he's mad.
He's mad. He doesn't like them. He really doesn't like Scorpio Sky.
Right. This has been a back and forth build. I was really excited for the double turn when they did it.
Yeah, same. We did a pay-per-view on that show, right?
I don't know. We talk about it on the internet so much. Now, hey, if you go to our Discord, you can just talk wrestling with us all the time.
Yeah, but if we didn't do a podcast, I really loved the double turn, and that they seemed to embrace the double turn, and then they kind of backpedaled, and I didn't like that so much.
Well, I'm fine with what they've gone with here, and I think it's very interesting because we ended up with a heel versus heel match, which is, classically speaking, not good.
It's arena poison.
Yeah, nobody cares. But, like, AEW is so happy to let the fans just feel how they feel about a situation.
Yeah, it really plays out well in this sort of situation because, American Top Team are dickheads. But they're less dickheads than Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti.
I think everyone did a great job in this match. I was really happy to see that Paige Van Zant doesn't have the Marina Shafir curse. She was very capable.
She's
in the
clearly
ring.
green, but she did a fucking great job.
And she's MMA green, which means she's throwing potatoes.
Yeah. Look, there's green, and then there's MMA green, where your problem isn't that you don't know how to work, it's that you know how to shoot a little too well.
Yeah. They had a lot of good business between Sammy and Ty Conti, and just, like, making out and being gross and...
Yeah, I mean, like, this, if you're gonna turn them heel, they're doing a fucking excellent job. They are incredibly hateable.
I think AEW would like them to be tweeners.
That's too fucking bad, bro.
Yeah, sorry. And there was a lot of good business in the match with Frankie Kazarian being like, I don't like you guys. Why are you acting like this? Please stop. I'd like to win this match.
Yeah, he did it a lot. Like, Sammy Guevara would be like... He would do a move and then stop to do his big pose, and you would hear Frankie Kazarian, "You stupid son of a bitch, pin him! What are you doing?"
It was pretty funny. On the line was that if Kazarian and Guevara and Conti didn't win, then Kazarian and Guevara couldn't challenge Scorpio Sky for the TNT title. And they didn't win.
So they can't. Which means Sammy Guevara is now no longer going to be challenging for the TNT title, at least for a little bit.
Which I like that. I'd like to see some new contenders in there.
The evil is defeated.
And I like Frankie Kazarian, but he was clearly only here for, like, this storyline, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, he was clearly here to do some work with Scorpio Sky.
Yeah. I'm so happy that Scorpio Sky is getting his due.
Yeah, we showed up, and Scorpio Sky finally started getting the push he's deserved for a long time, as I gather.
Yeah, basically. And I've liked Scorpio Sky for a long, long time, so this was pretty fun. Next matchup. We're going through these a little fast, listener. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of content to get through, and shoot.
And there's not a lot of wrestling to talk about, because it's not like, if the wrestling's bad, there's a lot to talk about, because, oh man, they fucked this spot up, oh, this was shitty and sloppy and slow.
At this point, there are better people to talk about it.
Yeah, but like, even if we wanted to, we can't. This was all good. It was good. It was really good wrestling.
There are absolutely some blown spots, but I think
but like,
more important than
a live show.
Fucking up a spot is recovering from it. And
Yeah.
I feel like almost everyone did that.
Botching is bad. To botch is human. But to botch and not... to botch and then just pig-headedly drive through as if it had worked, that's pitiable.
Yeah. I will mention one weird thing about the wrestling. Everybody was sitting down really low on their leg moves, their leg submissions.
We talked about this on the night. I feel like it was intentional.
It might have been.
Because all the leg submissions, and there were a lot, weirdly, that people didn't hook in very well, the opponent got out of.
Right.
That's a quiet but really good way to sell a good leg submission as something you can tap out to.
Right.
Because they've been devalued over the years pretty heavily.
I think so. But like stuff like the sharpshooter, for example, it's not a leg submission. I mean, it's not great on your legs, but it's supposed to put pressure on your back. If you don't get it all the way, it's just sort of uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're just pressing someone's ankle into their calf, and that does hurt.
Sure, but it's like, ow, stop that. Not I need to quit wrestling now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Darby Allin challenged Kyle O'Reilly to a fight. He said he was going to fuck up all of the Undisputed Elite's matches if he didn't, because Kyle O'Reilly injured Sting.
And if someone hurts your dad, you fight them.
That's how it works. I don't make the rules. This was a great contest. Darby Allin is his own weapon, and Kyle O'Reilly is incredible in the ring.
Kyle O'Reilly's fucking great. Like, I haven't seen him put on a bad match.
No, he's just good. He doesn't have the look, and that's the thing that's stopping him from being the total package.
Yeah, he's got a very boxery sort of face,
mm-hmm.
and he's got the sort of the low rolled shoulders. He looks like a fighter, but the superstar look, there's something missing there.
Chris Jericho would not recruit him to the Jericho.
Yeah, he's not a sports entertainer.
Kyle O'Reilly ended up going over in this contest. It was 10 minutes of beauty, man. Like, I can't really... What is there to say? Darby Allin threw himself through and off of things.
I'm glad they both got, a match on this card.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got some pay-per-view time. Glad they got a pay-per-view payday.
Yeah.
Fucking excellent contest. 9 minutes, 50 seconds. Didn't overstay its welcome. Fucking Kyle O'Reilly goes over.
And that was a nice surprise, too. I like that they're...
I was really expecting Darby to win.
Oh, sure. He's fighting for his dad.
Like... And it's not like he wins all his matches, but he's on something of kind of a losing streak recently.
Nah, he beat...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like, I wasn't... It's not like he's super protected, but it didn't feel like it was leading to Kyle winning.
No. And Darby he's happy to lose. I'll put it that way. He's so cool, he doesn't need to win.
He is very fucking cool.
Right. So we move on to another very technical, very good match in Serena Deeb challenging for Thunder Rosa's title. This was a garbage build.
This was more coherent than another build we'll get to later, but worse. It told a story that made sense. It was just shit.
Yeah. Serena Deeb spent too much time on the mic. I would not have put her on the mic.
Look, I don't know if she thinks she's really good on the mic and no one's willing to tell her otherwise, or someone really felt like she is. Spoiler alert, you're not correct. Bad. Very bad. All her promos were very bad. They're boring and shitty.
And they went on too long, and they were just kind of grating to listen to, and not in a Vicky Guerrero kind of way.
And like, she's got some legitimate grievances, I'm sure. One of those promos, one of the fucking interminably long ones that we eventually muted because it was so fucking insufferable. She was talking about how, like, when she was with the WWE, although she didn't name it, she got breast implants and shaved her head and did all this stuff to try and please people. And she's done doing that. Now's her time. She's going to take what she wants. In the hands of a more apt performer, that could have been great material.
Yeah.
You're not that.
Well, and I mean, Thunder Rosa is a really good promo, but sometimes, especially in front of the live crowd, she kind of chokes.
She does fumble the bag if she's in front of a live crowd fairly often. Backstage, Solid promo.
Well, and the backstage stuff we saw from Serena Deeb in the buy-in
honestly,
was pretty decent. Yeah,
I'm sure they let her ramble for 45 minutes and then cut it down into something usable. But like,
it was just more comfortable. I would have been doing this from that first promo not going well.
Yeah, like putting her in front of putting her with a hot mic, not a great call. Letting someone edit her, you got the promo I wanted out of Serena Deeb.
Yes,
you got a really solid, coherent, well-told story about a veteran challenging for the hot young face for the title and being determined to get what is hers. That was really good. Unfortunately, I have a memory, so it didn't work.
What is fortunate, however, is that no matter how you feel about Serena Deeb on the mic, she is a technician in the ring.
Oh, yeah, she's a fucking great pro wrestler.
And we're up against Thunder Rosa, who is the women's champion for a reason.
I mean, honestly, I would just strap a manager to her. She's a fucking great pro wrestler.
Sure.
She does great work in the ring. It's a little boring for my taste, but she's a heel. That's the point.
Yeah, this was slowed down from Rosa's typical technique, but a slower match does not a bad match make. They made some really cool submissions, and
this match was so fucking good it won me over. And I did not like this build. I actively did not like listening to Serena Deeb talk by the end of it.
Yeah. Thunder Rosa, of course, retained her title. I don't think anybody thought they were going to give it to Serena Deeb.
A little tiny pessimistic part of my heart thought maybe, but I'm really glad I was wrong.
Quality match. Let's move
A+
on to
match again. Good wrestling.
The opposite, basically. Still a good match. Still an A+ match, but not good wrestling. Stupid.
No, terrible garbage fire, fucking ruthless aggression era, late attitude era, fucking tire fire of a match. I loved it. Match of the night.
It was fun. I don't know if I'd go that far, but this was the Jericho Appreciation Society against the Blackpool Combat Club minus Wheeler Yuta, Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. This was went a lot of ways I wasn't expecting it to, especially after Mox was like, "Nah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do it your way," and then they went and did it his way.
They didn't do it Stadium Stampede. They didn't have them in an empty football stadium.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it wasn't very... it was all over the place and chaotic. They continued playing Wild Thing throughout the first, half of the match until Jericho found the sound system and turned it off.
I would say it's the first 7 minutes or so. Not half. It was a long match.
There was blood and mustard and someone got hit with a...
Eddie Kingston killed 2 guys at one point.
They came back. They're fine.
They're fine now. It's wrestling, but he did murder them. And he tried to commit capital murder on pay-per-view television. And the weird thing is, all right, so the Jericho Appreciation Society won, and I am fucking baffled. I don't disagree with it. I don't think it's a bad call. It's just so far from the call I expected, I can't get there mentally.
I hate the Jericho Appreciation Society. I like the Wizard Chris Jericho.
I love the Jericho Appreciation Society.
And I recognize what they're doing is quality.
It's a hilarious bit, and I'm sure for others it is wearing thin.
They're working me. They're working me hard.
Yes, for over 11 weeks.
For over 11 weeks, they've been working me hard. But I also don't really care for Jon Moxley, and he has a toxic effect on anything he's around for too long. Now, this was a good match. I'm not going to sit here and try to shit on it. He did a good job in it. He did some Mox stuff. And I think, as you observed, he makes a great tag team with Daniel Bryan just because of how they Bryan
fit.
Danielson, excuse me.
They
I'm
fit
good old JR.
together.
Don't say anything in the comments, guys. Say everything in the comments. We need the engagement. I feel like not having Wheeler was a misstep.
He's busy. Genuinely, it is clear. This is Blackpool Combat Club wants to be Bullet Club.
Right.
Wheeler Yuta is an ROH being a champion, being the pure champion. He's busy.
Well, and I don't hate it because I think they're probably going to go further with this.
Yeah, you'll get more members,
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, and even this angle with Jericho.
They won though. In the big, giant, fucking clusterfuck match of violence and death and destruction, sports entertainers beat pro wrestlers. They kind of just proved that they were right.
Do you think Jon Moxley is going to be like, well, I'm done now?
No, I mean, but that doesn't make it a good idea for him to not.
But what does the Jericho Appreciation Society move on to at this point?
That's absolutely fair.
Jericho wants a stable so fucking bad. He wants an NWO, and what are
are
you going to do
He's
with
going to keep making it until it sticks.
Yeah.
But I don't think them winning is bad. It's just so fucking baffling. Another baffling thing is the whole story of this match was Eddie Kingston versus Chris Jericho. And aside from the bit where he tried to kill him by lighting him on fire, they barely interacted.
Well, and that's why I think maybe this will continue to go. Maybe not in this exact same configuration, but especially with the heat between Brian and Kingston, and Mox and Kingston being friends. There's a lot of
avenues for storytelling. I think honestly, Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson kicking off again because each one thinks the other cost them the match. Bryan Danielson thinks Eddie Kingston going insane and trying to kill a man cost him the match. Trying to kill him because he also covered Bryan in gasoline too. Fuck you both. I'm gonna light you both on fire. And Eddie Kingston is very upset that Bryan Danielson stopped him from murdering Chris Jericho.
Well, I mean, we make this joke that nobody can actually see the origins of. Murder is never the answer. I think Eddie Kingston's response was, "Hey, fuck you." Kingston, by the way, delivered an amazing promo on the pre-show.
Yeah, as someone else put it online, promo of his life. Fucking excellent work.
Yeah.
A+. I can only liken it to some of the best wrestling promos I've seen. It was fucking firework.
Yeah, very, very good. At the end of the day, this was a hell of a lot of fun and insanity. And as much as they pushed the envelope, I don't know that they ever really went too far.
No, which one is it? Which one is the wide face of the Jericho Appreciation
I don't
Society?
fucking know. One of these guys' name is Matt Maynard and Angelo Parker.
It's either Angelo Parker or Matt Menard. I don't know which. Whichever one has the big wide face and does the JAS and intro speech. He made a lot of red come out of him. But otherwise, it was a pretty restrained match, all things considered.
Yeah.
Especially since, as I found out, the whole beginning segment was a tribute to New Jack.
Oh, I can feel that, yeah.
So,
yeah, and they never stop as me. Okay, I don't know why I didn't see that.
So, Chris Jericho specifically called it out. He's like, no, that was intentionally a tribute to New Jack. And if they're gonna attribute something to New Jack, attempted murder is in fact a right call for the match.
Yeah, I agree. So honestly, they kind of went tame.
Yeah, very tame for a New Jack tribute match.
Let's roll on to some more sensible tag team wrestling. Shout out to the ring technicians for in 5 minutes getting that ring put back together after Mox disassembled it because it displeased him.
Yeah, there was no other reason. He just decided to fucking do that.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the business he wanted to get into. Remember that time when you didn't explode right on me? Now I'm getting mine.
Yeah, he was giving a receipt to the ring itself.
We had the Tag Team Championship match, which was probably the match I was looking forward to second most. That is to say Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks versus Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland versus the champions Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. It was the kind of tag match where only 2 guys are in the ring at a time, and you tag out to whoever. And they did a lot of play with that. There was a subtle thing I noticed, and it was often that when they were in the ring hitting each other, the referee would count that as a tag.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
That counts?
Yeah, it's a fun way. I mean, you kind of sometimes shrugged, I guess.
I guess this fucking counts.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
Y'all are clearly not listening to me, so I'll just make up whatever I want.
Look, I'm going to get an earful from JR later regardless, so go at it.
This was excellent. Again, like almost all the wrestling, aside from the one match that was not wrestling, it was a train crash. And even then, the wrestling in it was good. This was great in terms of pro wrestling. 2 small nitpicks. One, I love Keith Lee. I love Swerve Strickland. That's a terrible name. Swerve in Our Glory, terrible tag team name. Too long, weird, and clunky.
I don't disagree with them needing a name because there's a lot of syllables.
They need a name. Not that name.
Right. It doesn't make things better.
Jurassic Express. 2 words, clean, gets the point across. Team Taz, clean, gets the point across. Swerve in Our Glory. That's a fucking sentence. That's not shorter than just saying your names.
Yeah. Like a syllable shorter, but like, yeah, I with the guys in the ring, this is a hard thing to say. The wrestling was good. The high spots were great. The action was fluid. There was a lot of storytelling.
Jungle Boy is indestructible as long as he is within the radius of Luchasaurus, as always.
Yes. They had a lot of great big guy spots.
I'm baffled that Jurassic Express won this.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but
no, again, not a bad call. It's just confusing.
I'm not sure who they fight now.
Yeah, they kind of have one beating everyone, and 2, this is a triple threat. You have one team who's not the champs beat the other team who's not the champs. You protect the champs.
Yeah, and then you got a built-in feud going out of that.
Yeah.
I don't quite get it. I really thought, as much as I would have loved to see something for Powerhouse Hobbs, I really thought Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland were going to take this one.
I mean, that's kind of the story they've been building.
Yeah.
And I really thought that Christian was going to do something to end up costing them the match and lead into the very slow Christian heel turn they've been doing, and Jungle Boy versus Christian feud. That's where I thought this was going.
Sure.
But no, like the one moment where they could have had that happen, Christian specifically was a very good coach and said, no, forget me, go win the match.
And maybe they're not doing it. I don't know. Maybe it's just something to fuck with their expectations. It's working.
I mean, yeah, my expectations are thoroughly subverted. And not in a bad way for a change. I don't dislike this call. It's just confusing.
Secondarily, and it is Tuesday at the earliest when you're listening to this. The show was on Sunday. You've probably been on the internet since then. I would have had another title change hands before the main event.
Yeah, because it kind of gives the game away. If you have like all of the titles, well, not the TNT title, but if you have almost all your titles on the show and they all stay with their current champ, and you have one match left and it's the main event and it's your WrestleMania equivalent, well, I kind of know what's gonna fucking happen now, don't I?
Yeah, unless they just went with all retaining, but not at a WrestleMania,
Not at like the big show.
Right.
That's not how wrestling goes.
Yeah. So, Jurassic Express retained. I don't hate it. They're great champs. I just don't know what's next. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, there might be something cool.
Sure. And these guys are great in the ring, and I'd love to see them. Hell, continue this feud. A little weird, but, go for it. I like the way these guys work together, so we're add a wrinkle to it.
Maybe not for too long.
No, maybe not all the way to the next pay-per-view. But
you only have so many, but like to the next Supercard.
Yeah,
whatever.
that'd
Sure.
be fine. So let's roll into that main event. This is the kind of marquee match that you don't need to have a build for. You could just throw it in and then not see the wrestlers for 4 weeks, and your pay-per-view will still sell, which is a good thing because they did worse than that.
Yeah, that is definitely the call they should have made. This was incoherent. They managed to make something coherent of it in the buy-in. They managed to make a coherent story for this match, and I thank the fine editors of the buy-in of AEW for making chicken salad out of the chicken shit these two talents served you. Very impressive. The build for this was fucking incoherent. It's not that, AEW lets people, feel how they feel. The talent does what the talent does. Face and heel are archaic terms from the past, blah, blah, blah. You can say all the stupid bullshit you want. I need to understand why you people want to fight. And at the very least for CM Punk, I got why he wanted to fight. He wanted to be the champion. You're currently the champion. Nothing personnel, kid, but I have to take that from you. Hangman was bafflingly, insanely inconsistent week to week. He did 4 different builds. Or however many weeks since they announced this. It's been at least...
It was like 3, I think.
Yeah. He did a different build every show, it felt like. He was a different character. And that's really bad and a bad way to build the match.
It would have been better to do nothing at all. It would have been better for Hangman to just be like, yeah, I got this strap. Fuck off. I'm Hangman. I beat this guy, and this guy. You don't need to be here.
Yeah, like, look, there is a coherent story, and the story they went with in the buy-in, the story they made out of the parts they were provided, fine, great, that's good. Go with that the whole time, instead of what the fuck ever was going on. And look, CM Punk is not blameless here. He came in with one energy, Hangman came in with a much higher energy, and then CM Punk did not yes and him.
And who knows what backstage stuff was going on. It felt like each of them turned heel and face again several times.
Yeah, they both transmogrified into the Big Show during this, and that's not a compliment.
He burbles.
Like, I love Paul White, but he turns more often than a lazy Susan. And, like, this was not good. The buy-in made a good, coherent narrative out of it, and the match was fucking excellent. But of all of the builds, this one was the one that was the most bothersome, because although I didn't like Serena Deeb, I at least fucking understood what was going on.
Yeah. WWE has a different problem from this last build of AEW, and honestly AEW in general. A lot of the time when I was watching WWE prior to Roman Reigns, I did not give a fuck about the top titles. And that is to say prior to Roman Reigns' current heel run, excuse me. Usually they were contested between two people I didn't like who were way overhyped, and I just didn't care, and they did nothing to make me care. There were exceptions, of course, but the breadth of the WWE over the last 20 years has been this way. And AEW, the titles all feel pretty even. Like, I can point to the world title and go, that's the most important one.
Because it's the world one.
But I don't know that I care more about Hangman than I do Scorpio Sky. And not in a bad way.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing necessarily. No. That means that you've done a good job building up your other titles.
I routinely forget that Jade Cargill is not the women's champion.
Because the women's title, because Thunder Rosa is good. She's doing a good job. Jade Cargill is much cooler and more interesting.
And, like, it's you know, a difference by inches, but there, you know, I just keep, oh yeah, there is a women's title. We actually forgot the women's match was coming up when we were watching the show.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Jade already had her match. So, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing, but, like, if you're gonna try to elevate this to a prestige, for my money...
Yeah, because obviously this is just for our opinion.
Yeah, I don't know if it did that. Now, that said, as we said at the top of the show, this extraordinarily tired, been here for 5+ hours crowd was still doing their best to pop when it was poppin' time.
And they were still very solidly 50-50 for most of this. We both found it amusing that the only thing that got boos was, for both competitors, whenever they stopped to play to the crowd, they got massive boos. Because the crowd really would like to go home now, fucking wrestle.
There was a couple of botches that are worth mentioning here, and that is to say CM Punk trying to do the
buckshot lariat twice, failing the exact same way twice, and then just bulling on through like that was a move he did. I mean, that's what I mentioned earlier.
It's not like he got the win off of it.
No.
And I think that's important.
Afterwards he was you know, real enough to say, okay, so I'm never fucking doing that move again.
Yeah. But otherwise, it was a pretty strong match. I don't know that it was the best match on this card. But it hung in contention.
It had the biggest hype.
Sure.
And it was a fucking excellent wrestling match. It's just this whole show is such an amazing show to have been preceded by such a frustrating few weeks of wrestling before it.
And it was nice because I was looking at this going, all right, if they fumble this, I might shop around. You know, not out of some bitterness, but like, is there better wrestling out there for me to be watching?
Look, Triple H doesn't need to talk about him and his friend Mark. That's not the deal. It's just, okay, well, if you guys are going to fumble like this, then I'm going to see if there's some other game in town that's not fucking taking these L's.
And maybe there isn't. But, like, it did compel me enough to consider following the pay-per-view, seeing what my options are. I do not feel like I need to see what my options are.
No, I'm excited for Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. I'm excited to see what happens with everything, really. Curious to see what happens with MJF. I wonder if he will be off TV for a while.
I mean, they clearly wrote a structure to allow him to fuck off for as long as he'd like.
Sure.
Also, this is what I mentioned earlier. Mark Sterling could also just fuck off TV for as long as he likes.
Sure.
His clients are MJF. He's not around. Jade Cargill. She fired his ass. And Tony Nese, who would be reasonably well served in booting him also. So he might be changing up. Maybe he's going to be a wrestler.
Maybe. He did just fine getting wrestled at.
Yeah.
But I think something that does actually bear talking about, and bears our opinions as the talking heads that we are, talking bears. So CM Punk won.
Yeah, CM Punk is your new AEW World Champion. Right call.
Unfortunately, I feel it was probably the better call.
Yeah, look, the ascension of Hangman Page is someone who hadn't watched it happen and only got the buy-in pay-per-view, video package, and the couple weeks we watched before that. The ascension of Hangman Page was fucking perfect wrestling storytelling. He did sort of fumble the bag after. Like, he didn't do a bad job.
And I don't know whose fault that is. There's probably not just one factor. It was, well, let's do this thing. Let's see if it gets hot. The 2 Daniel Bryan matches in a row. Bryan Danielson, I keep doing it, I'm sorry. That, went to the time limit. That wasn't a good call.
And it was like right after he got the title. It felt like it really squashed something.
Yeah, and he had good matches. He put on good shows. Most of his promos were solid, but he just wasn't there.
Didn't thrill me.
Yeah. Woof. And I like Hangman. I like him.
I like Hangman a lot. He's a great talent.
Mm-hmm. He's got a great look. He's great in the ring. He's good on the mic.
Good names for his moves. Talent, very entertaining performer.
But you often have this with a babyface. He was better in the chase. And you're at a point right now where you've got the guy who set your company on fire last year and put you in competition with the WWE, and you can hand the title off to him versus a guy who's been doing a good job.
Perfectly serviceable, but you were better chasing. I'm sorry.
So I as much as I have that concern, because I would love to say, oh, Phil's a changed guy. He's not going to do Phil stuff.
Is he though?
But
is he though?
I'm not a stupid old man. I am aware who the Snake is, and I'm like, ooh. Colt Cabana's already kind of maybe going to Ring of Honor, and does that have anything to do with anything? Who's to say? I guess only Tony Khan knows at the end, but I don't know.
And we've said mildly concerning things about CM Punk, so he might come to our fucking house and fight us.
I'll get kicked by CM Punk. I'll take that paycheck.
Not Punk. Tony.
Oh, Tony, yeah. Well, I mean, he's just going to do cartwheels and karate moves on our front lawn and yell.
Look, at some point the Coke will take over, and then...
I feel like I like my odds against TK. I don't like my odds against Punk.
Nah, man. Beat me up. You're a billionaire.
Yeah,
I'll take that paycheck.
True. Yeah. Let's televise this shit. Monetize it. What are you doing?
Look, you want me to come in, take some flat back bumps? Give me a couple months training so I don't embarrass you, so I don't embarrass myself, and you can fucking Wardlow my ass around the ring. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Pay for my back surgery, please.
Let's go.
So, CM Punk as a champion, is this the call I've been dreaming for? No. Is this the call I necessarily wanted to see? It's debatable. I think he's probably got more upward momentum to do bigger things and have bigger matches on the roster as the champion, face or heel. And that's the biggest thing, is no matter how many hesitations I had in watching Punk win this match, when CM Punk of all people is ugly crying in the middle of the ring over winning the belt after all this time, it's hard to be mad at him.
Yeah, Phil might not be the... to be honest, he's probably kind of an asshole. But so am I. So I can't judge him that much when he's clearly so fucking happy.
Yeah. As usual, it's got me watching wrestling, and it's quality wrestling as compared to...
AEW is fucking such good pro wrestling. Even when it seems like shit's on shaky ground, they stick that landing so fucking hard, dude.
It's something I appreciate, and almost every wrestler there talks about what a good time they're having.
Everything's better when nerds talk about it. Fuck it.